One of the things that I really enjoy doing is kind of tracking all the different kind of products and technologies in the automation space. And discovery is one of those. And it's really been interesting to watch kind of the development of the discovery services, especially EBSCO Discovery Service. The most recent library systems report that was published in American Libraries, it showed that EBSCO Discovery Service really had quite high numbers relative to the competition, maybe even as much as all of the others put together. So, and EBSCO Service came out a little bit later than the others. How did you accomplish that? What are some of the things that EBSCO is able to do to kind of come into this market and really kind of make an impressive progress there?
So being last to market is as a result of having a different scope of the project. So we think of this and thought of this as something different than the other organizations that are doing something similar. I believe we actually were the first to begin doing something here, but we weren't calling it Discovery. We didn't have a cool name for it. Yeah. So what ended up happening was the scope was much bigger. The other organizations that were doing something similar were doing it did it quickly with small development teams, where EBSCO took a very different approach. We looked at this as the core piece of technology of our company. We're not distracted by having an ILS or any other sort of major focus for technology. Discovery is our main technology. So, so it enabled us to really focus on what does the end user need and how can we deliver it in the best possible way. So the end result was a very good product that has had very good reaction in the market. That's why we have so many customers, and sort of continued commitment to that product, and the customers see it. So as each new release comes out, they're seeing that technical development power that is behind EDS as sort of the main technical focus of our company.
Very interesting. So another piece of all of this, you have discovery that faces the library's customers, but then you have the resource management systems that the libraries themselves operate to kind of describe their collections, automate their circulation desk, and all of that. But EBSCO doesn't have one of those, but rather has integrated with almost all of the others. The ones in particular that people would recognize are Dynix and Innovative. I know you have a project with Qualiolet, and a dozen smaller vendors in other parts of the world that a lot of people might not be as familiar with. So that strategy, integration versus kind of having your own resource management system, and how does that work for EBSCO?
Right. So we're focused on the best possible end user experience. We think it aligns with the core mission of the university library, where when you look at sort of faculty, graduate students, PhDs, undergrads, it's the experience they have with the library resources that are considered sort of most important, as opposed to back-end functionality, which is something that is a must-have, but it is not the core mission of the library. So our thinking is partner with every possible ILS vendor worldwide. We have more than 24 partnerships now. There's no country where we're not partnering with an ILS vendor that is important to the market. In the rare cases where we can't partner, we work with the sort of savviest customers of those vendors to be able to create workarounds that will allow all the other customers to be able to do the same types of things that we could do if we had a partnership.
Yeah, interesting. So one of the main business activities of EBSCO is creating subject indexes, something EBSCO is really known for. The subject indexes relative to discovery, because I think that's kind of a different approach that EBSCO has than some of the others that really is based on subject indexing as some other search and retrieval technologies.
So when I talked about the fact that the scope of our discovery project was different and bigger, one of the reasons that it was different and bigger was that we needed to find a way to incorporate subject indexes in a way that was acceptable to subject index providers, which is not easy. Yeah. There are a lot of things that are important to them that take years of development, in order to do it right, and that was something we decided we would do. And the end result is that it's a better experience for the end user. So to be able to go into a subject index and browse the thesaurus is something that years ago was sort of a desire of libraries, but it isn't really the way these subject indexes can be maximized in a library today. The best way is to have them in a sort of all-in-one search box where the end user does not need to know how the articles are actually indexed, which words are used. So we're mapping the thesauri from all these different indexes together so that we can take the use fors and see alsos and make it so someone can type in a very basic term and yet get sort of ideal results back based on the intelligence of that thesaurus. And we have many taxonomists working on this to be able to make it so that all the subject indexes in EDS, and there are a lot of them, are mapped together and allow that sort of ideal end user experience.
And a lot of subject indexes that are not created by EBSCO, but by all of these other kind of community of subject index providers as well.
Right, and actually, when you look at the best subject indexes in the world, we're working with most of them, and most of them are not owned by EBSCO. So we have some of those, but it's but the best subject indexes, you know, if you were going to say what are the top 5, we don't own those, and so we had to do things to make sure that it was acceptable to the subject index provider to get them to work with us, because they need to make an exception because they're generally not working with discovery services. And before we do that, we needed to all put it through our user research group to make sure that the things that are desired by the providers are also ideal for the end user. And so once it goes through the user research group and we find out, yes, this is actually a better experience for the end user, then it makes it onto our development roadmap, and we're able to implement these things and make end users happier and subject index providers and other providers happy.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.